Today, I'm reviewing an online homeschooling program that I have never reviewed before on my channel. It's called Homeschool Pro by Remote Learning, and it claims to be a complete online homeschooling curriculum for kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. So let's review it together. Okay, so you guys have been asking me for this one. There's no free trial, so I know that can make it hard for a lot of families to decide if this is something that they should try or not. But that is what you have me for. If you do pay for it, like I had to, it costs $49 a month, and that price does include all of your children. You can also purchase a 6-month membership for $275 or a 1-year membership for $500. They also have a lifetime membership for $995. If you do opt for the lifetime membership, you can pay over time with something like Affirm or Afterpay. So you don't need to come up with the entire $995 up front. They are also going to add on tax when you sign up. So that monthly membership is actually costing me $52.11, which is not cheap. Unlike some online homeschooling programs, you're not going to get access right away when you sign up. This is one where you sign up and then you need to sign up all of your kids and put in their grade levels and then wait for their student accounts to be created. They say this will take about 3 or 4 days. When I signed up for 3 kids, it only took 2 days, which was a nice surprise. I did this in November though, so it might be different based on what time of year it is. I signed up with 3 different students so that we could take a look at a few different grade levels together. So we've got a 1st grade, 6th grade, and 11th grade program to look at. When you sign up, you do choose your child's grade level, but when they go to their account, they will actually see a bunch of courses from the grade level below them and also the grade level above them. So you're not locked into just one specific grade level. I will show you what that looks like in a minute. You will also be assigned a dedicated homeschool advisor who will be available to help answer questions about the homeschool requirements for your state. You'll be able to email them at any time with questions about the curriculum or just a general homeschool question. So that is one unique feature of this program. There is also a built-in AI tutor that students can access during their lessons for additional help. This is currently only available for 5th grade and up. I will show you what that's like when we get into the courses. The curriculum is set up like many other online homeschooling programs that we have looked at together. You'll have a mix of video lessons as well as PDFs to print off, offline assignments to complete, and auto-graded quizzes. There are even some projects that students will upload to be graded by an instructor. So now, why don't we jump in and take a look at the curriculum together? Let's go in order and start with 1st grade. Your children will each get their own login credentials, so they will have a separate dashboard. So this is what your child is going to see when they log in. This screen shows all the available courses that they can take. There's also a Not Started tab, an In Progress tab, which is where they will go to see the courses they have actually started work in, and a Completed tab that will show the courses they have finished. The first course here is actually a sort of Intro to Homeschool Pro course. There are some short videos here that explain how things work in the program, so kids can watch this if they want. There's also a document section here where you can print a school ID card and a child safety ID card. And then here are all the courses that you can pick from. There's a handwriting and writing course, ballet, cursive, sign language, and lots of other options. So all of the courses will be here whether you want them or not, and your child will just start working in whichever course you pick. And once they start the course, then it's going to show in their in-progress courses. So let's take a look at one of the courses just so you can see how they are set up. Let's look at the 1st grade language arts course. So over on the left is the course outline. So you just start with the first lesson and follow along. You can skip around, and you can also just mark a video complete and continue on whether you actually watched it or not. So I definitely recommend parents are paying attention and making sure your kids are actually doing the lessons on here. So there are mostly just a lot of videos to watch here and some auto-graded quizzes mixed in. There are different units here. First is phonics, and they also have vocabulary, sight words, grammar, and reading. Now, in this course, it seems to be just slides with someone talking along with the slides, but there are courses with actual people in the videos, which I will show you. So it just depends on the course. But let's watch a clip of one of the lessons together now so you can see and hear what it's like.
Let's look at these sentences. What sound does the ed make in the words? In each sentence, I notice that the word with an ed is a verb, and we know verbs show action. So let's look at these sentences and decide what the ed says at the end of the root word we added it to. The first sentence says, she kicked the ball. She kicked the ball. What sound does kicked make at the end of the word? If you said, t, I'm very proud of you. Now let's look at our next sentence. I filled the cup. I filled the cup. What sound does the ed make at the end of the verb filled? If you said duh, that's right. Let's look at our last sentence. I wanted to go. I wanted to go. What sound does the ed make at the end of the verb wanted? If you said ed, you are right again. Great job. Remember that ed can say duh, t, or ed at the end of a verb.
So that's really how this program works. You have a lot of course options. Some are here because they cover multiple grade levels, and they also include a couple of options for math, reading, and science. So if your child is working above or below their grade level in a certain subject, you can pick and choose. There are a lot of fun elective options too. And if there is something from a different grade level that you want your child to have access to, you can just email your homeschool advisor and they can add it for you. Now let's look at a 6th grade course. So as you can see, it is the exact same setup, just different courses to choose from. There's a coding course, astronomy, engineering, and you'll notice some of the same electives that we saw for 1st grade, such as ballet and American Sign Language. And like before, you will have a few different grade level options for things like math and language arts. So you can pick the grade level that best fits your student. Let's take a look at the 7th grade pre-algebra course. So for this course, you can see we have an actual person in the video, which might appeal more to some students. There is also a worksheet to go along with the lesson that students can download. What's interesting though is that if you skip ahead to chapter 5 here, now you don't have the same person in the videos. Now we're back to seeing the screen recording with a person talking, and it's a different person talking. So I don't know if that's a good thing that it switches halfway through the course. I also noticed that there were a few auto-graded quizzes in the first chapter, and then I don't see any for the rest of the course. So that's a little strange. Let's see a clip of 2 different lessons here so you can see what I'm talking about.
Hey everybody, welcome to your 2nd lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about Chapter 1, Lesson 2, which is about complex fractions and unit rates. Our objective is actually to be able to simplify complex fractions. What that really means is we need to be able to divide fractions that are complex. Our standards that we're going to be addressing today is 7th grade standard ratios and proportion standard number 1 and 7th grade number system standard number 3. So we're going to go ahead and get into this lesson. So the next part of our lesson is vocab. Go ahead and copy down the definition that you see here. Go ahead and pause the video, copy everything down. I did include an example for what I'm going to talk about in this vocab word. There's actually 3 examples here. So a complex fraction is our vocab word. It's a fraction, a over b, where a or b are fractions and b does not equal 0. So what that's saying is this could be a fraction or this could be a fraction. But the bottom number here is not allowed to be equal to 0. They both actually could be fractions too, as we can kind of point out here in a few seconds. Some examples of a complex fraction are 1/2 divided by 2. So if I take a half and I divide it by 2, 3 divided by a half, 1 1/2 divided by 1/4. And we're going to learn how to solve problems like these complex fractions in this lesson. We're not only just going to solve these complex fractions, but we're also going to learn how to turn those into a unit rate. So make sure you pay attention, follow along, and I'll teach you how to do this. Alright, so we're moving on to our first example. In this first example, it's actually from here to the left. I added something that's going to help us later on so you don't have to see me writing that. So in this example,
today we'll be taking a look at our pre-algebra lesson for evaluating variable expressions with the skill substitution. So to start off, what exactly is a variable? Well, variables are something that we use to represent a number or a value that we don't know yet, or a number that could also be changing. So what would be an example of that? Well, if you were to count the number of birds outside chirping right now, and let's say you get a number 3 out of 4, that number may very well change depending on the time of day. So at night, the number will probably be lower. So to account for that, we can use what we call our variables, such as x, y, p, a, or any letter or symbol that simply represents the variable or unknown value or number that we don't know yet. Well, so what would be a skill that we can utilize to plug in these values when we're solving expressions? Well, to start off as an easy example, let's not even start with a variable yet, or a letter yet. Let's say this blank, this underline, represents a variable. Well, if we were to plug in or substitute any number, we could get, let's say we substitute 2 and a b, sorry, excuse me for the poor handwriting, but we could have 1 plus 2, and in that instance, it'd be 3. So if we had 2 birds outside, in which we represent here, and then we added that to our 1 here as part of the equation, we'd get 3. And let's say, since variables, as we explained, can change, we had later just 1 bird outside. So we get a 1. So plug into whatever equation we have here, 1 plus our variable, which is 1, then it'd be 2. So as you can see, as variables change, that's why the products or sums of our evaluated expressions or equations could also change. So let's hop into some examples. So first off, we're given here that x equals 2. So we know that x just simply stands for a variable, and we know that 2 is the value that they're giving us for. So outside of this problem, we may not know what x is, so that's why we use x to represent.
Today we will be learning about ratios. So the 3 questions that we will be answering today are: what is a ratio? How do we find ratios? And how do we solve ratios? So first, what is a ratio? A ratio is how many times one number contains another. So an example is 1 to 7. So let's say that there is 7 times less amount of trucks than there are cars. So how do we find ratios? Well, an example is there are twice as many dogs to cats. So we should know that the ratio can be written as dogs to cats is 2 to 1, because there's twice as many dogs as cats. But also, We can write it as cats to dogs, which is 1 to 2. Okay, so lastly, we'll be learning.
Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at fractions, decimals, percents, and roundings, and I'm mainly going to show you how to use this Desmos calculator on the right. So we're going to start out with some fractions first. Let's read about fractions. So to convert fractions to a decimal, you are going to divide the numerator by the denominator, basically the number on top divided by the number on the bottom. And then if we are converting a decimal to a fraction, you can use a calculator for that. Remember, you are allowed to use a calculator for everything in 8th grade, so that's why I'm using the calculator for this.
This course also has that built-in AI tutor. So you can just click up here during the lesson and ask it a question about the lesson. You can actually ask it anything at all, whether it's about the lesson or not. It's kind of slow and not the best AI tutor that I have seen. It is still in beta, so hopefully it will improve. I personally wouldn't want my kids having access to this because I don't know what kinds of responses it's going to give. It seems like it's only drawing from the courses on Homeschool Pro, but I just don't know enough about it to say for sure. They also have a thing here where students can take notes if they want to. I'm not really sure how valuable online note-taking is when there aren't really any exams or anything like that to study for, but it's there. Remember, this is an online homeschooling program and not a school. So you as the parent are the one who's going to be deciding how you want to use this curriculum. There isn't any way to pass or fail a course in this system. It's really all up to you, and you can use as little or as much of it as you want. Now let's just take a look at the 11th grade dashboard. You'll see some familiar courses and a lot of new ones as well. Just like before, you're going to have your pick of courses for several grade levels, so you can mix and match. Let's take a look at this world history course. Now for this one, I noticed a lot of them have the same person teaching, and you can see the little thumbnail on the bottom throughout the video. But that only goes so far, and then it switches to a woman, and you just hear her voice over the slideshow. So I'm guessing a lot of the courses are sort of pieced together like this, which is disappointing. It seems kind of thrown together rather than one complete course. Let's watch a couple of clips together now so you can see what I'm talking about.
Now here is your warm-up. Now look at it, analyze it. What do you see? Okay, if you want to make a little short list of things you see, fine. If you want to just make a sentence out of it, fine. But just the important thing is that you write down what you see. Okay. Now the second question to this is, what do you think this artist is trying to say? All right. Now you have to remember, this is back in the day, long time ago. So this is the only way that they really could speak and tell their history or tell about a special event, or a significant event, in their culture, in their tribe's history, things like that. So what do you think happened, is going on? What do you think this artist person is trying to say? All right, so here are the notes. Thing is, historians, they rely on proof, some form of documentation written on paper or paintings, things like that, to help us basically say what happened. Okay, that's what makes studying early man really difficult, because all we have is fragmented stuff, tools, pottery, even bones, and that helps us piece together what the past was like for them. So it helps us to give a visual, to say, okay, this is how they lived, this is what they ate, more likely this is how they spoke, things like that. Cave paintings also help us to understand how life was for them, because a lot of times they are putting part of their history on there. They didn't just say, and then just smear some stuff on there and that's it. No, it's a part of their history, part of their lives, and they put up there for future generations to see and know about them. So That's nice. Now, a hominid, and I hope I pronounced that right, is a man-like creature that walked upright. Not down low, not on all fours, but upright. 2 feet upright. A student earlier asked me, what about birds? They walk on 2 feet. And it's like, no, they rely on flight. We people rely on 2 feet constantly. So I thought that was funny. Okay, so now we're going to get into
So the Renaissance, if for my French scholars out there, you might recognize that term. Renaissance literally means rebirth in French. And so what this term refers to is a time of cultural and intellectual revival in Europe. During this period of time, there was a big movement known as humanism. And humanism was a philosophy, a belief that really celebrated the individuals and humans. Now, what's important to understand was we know during the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church was very powerful. And sometimes people pitch humanism as the contrast or as the opposite of the power, the religious power of the church. And that's incorrect. Humanism, rather, was simply this idea that humanists were very much Christians and very much believed in their religion of Christianity. But they also started to bring out this idea that humans too are valuable, and that we should also be focused on the capabilities and celebrating what it is that humans achieve here on earth, in addition to the power of the church and the power of their faith. So humanism brought in this idea about individuals and studying human life. Similarly, during the Renaissance, we saw the rise of something known as secularism. Secularism, again, is a focus on earthly or non-religious existence. So we start to see between the two, the humanism and secularism.
A new age had dawned in Western Europe. Given expression, we had remarkable artists and thinkers. Europeans would call this age the Renaissance, and the Renaissance means rebirth. And so we have a time of rebirth, and this time period will begin in the 1300s, and it will last and reach its peak around 1500. So this Renaissance is really the transition from the medieval times to the early modern world.
If we scroll through, we can see there are also some PDFs to download and some auto-graded quizzes in this course. There are also some instructor-graded assignments. For these, the student would actually complete the project and then upload it to be graded. Apparently, this is a new feature, so I'm not sure how many courses have these types of assignments. Now, let's take a quick look at the parent dashboard. There really isn't much here, but you can access the student ID cards that we saw on the student dashboard. I also forgot to mention the Junior Folio. This is basically a digital portfolio that you can add to where you can keep track of your child's best work and other achievements. Some students like to include this in their college applications. Some of these items will be added from Homeschool Pro as students complete certain achievements, and some you can have uploaded if there is something your student has done outside of the program that you want included. There is also a course here to help parents better understand the program and how everything works. And here's how you can submit a request to get a homeschool ID card, which you can use to get educator discounts in places that offer them. Of course, you can always make this kind of thing yourself and name your homeschool whatever you want to. You don't need to be enrolled in any certain program in order to make an ID card and show it for a discount. I could literally go to Canva, create an ID card, name my school, anything I want to, and print it out. I could even have it laminated if I wanted it to look more official. If you decide you want to cancel, you can do that here. You go to billing, edit your credit card, and then hit delete to remove your credit card info so you won't be charged going forward. Make sure you hit delete and not cancel. Cancel just brings you back to the previous page. Lastly, I just want to mention that there are also some other fun aspects to this program. including a kids club, a magazine written by the students, and a virtual homeschool talent show. So they do have some community activities that your student may enjoy. And that is really everything that I wanted to show you today about Homeschool Pro from remote learning. I think it is pretty simple to get set up and started with. There really isn't anything much to do from the parent side. Maybe just sit with your kids when they first log on so you can decide together what courses they should take. And make sure to check in from time to time since there really isn't any way for you to see how they're doing. The quizzes and assignments seem sort of random, and they can skip over any of the videos that they want to and just mark them complete. So you definitely need to be involved. But there isn't a complicated parent dashboard like you'll find on some of the other online homeschooling programs. As for the content, well, we did get to see some of the lessons together, so hopefully you have a good understanding now of what the courses and the lessons are like. They certainly have a lot of course offerings, but I'm just not so sure about the content. There isn't a lot of consistency, especially with the courses just sort of randomly changing the instructor and the video format halfway through the course. The auto-graded quizzes and assignments also seem to be sort of haphazardly scattered throughout the curriculum. It's kind of all over the place if you ask me. So what is my opinion of this online homeschooling program? Well, I think it has potential. I do like the learning management system because I think it's really simple for anyone to follow. And the variety of course offerings is very nice. I'm just not sure that I can trust the quality of the curriculum. It seems like some courses are definitely better than others, and even some chapters within the courses are better than other chapters in the course. There isn't a lot of consistency, and that bothers me. The price is also rather high if you're only using it for one student. If you have several students that you're signing up for this, then the price becomes more appealing. So overall, I think this might be a good option of something to use in your homeschool, but I would definitely not be relying on this for my only curriculum for my kids, no matter what grade they happen to be in. Have you used Homeschool Pro in your family? I would love to hear about your experience in the comments. And if you have any questions, please let me know and I will do my best to answer. And please let me know if there are any other programs that you'd like me to review and I will add them to my list. Thank you so much for watching.